I know that you've all been prepared for this, but I thought I'd just remind you just the same.
It's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
Scanners.
Scanners,
Yep.
the movie.
Yes.
We watched it.
Yeah, not the Office Depot scanner aisle.
No, not barcode scanners or document scanners.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the movie Scanners from 1980.
1981.
From
Yeah,
1981. Yes. Directed by and written by David Cronenberg,
Yeah.
who wrote and directed it at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. There was no timeline that they could give them to have any extensions. I guess the budget, for whatever reason, at that time, there was like some type of tax layover, and they were just at that deadline, so he had to write as he shot. It was shot in Montreal. It budgeted at like 7.5 million, so we're out there at 3.5, but then including media and all that, it's around 7.5. It made $14 million, so they did okay.
There's 2 sequels and then 2 spin-off movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should do that for season 2. Just hit the sequels to every movie
That'd
we
be
watch.
sick, yeah.
So far, we can do it.
We already have like 6 movies lined up.
Prom Night 2, 3, and 4, and Scanners 2 and 3.
Yep.
Plus spin-offs.
And they're talking, they did have something in the books for a remake, but
Yes.
it never went through. And then they had a TV show that they're still talking about. They just brought it up again in 2017.
The cast of this movie, what
Yeah.
did you think about that?
The 2 main call-outs, obviously, are Revik, who's the bad guy, and he's played by Michael Ironside.
Who was supposed to have a much more limited role in this movie. He was only supposed to be in the flashback scenes, but they expanded his role because he kicked so much ass.
Yeah, I mean, he steals the movie. He's great. Another cast member that wasn't so great was Stephen Lack. Stephen Lack was a monotone. He was very deadpan.
Keller murdered Dr. Ruth. He deserved to die.
And I don't know if that was the idea for it, because he's technically like this superior being, but Ironside wasn't.
But you look at his IMDb, and
Yeah.
it's not like he got a ton of work after. So I don't think he was method acting.
Yeah.
Cameron Vale is our protagonist. He's the good scanner. They find him homeless, derelict on a street.
Yeah. Stumbling through a mall, eating random food items.
Yes.
That's how the movie starts.
And you're like, who is this?
Yeah.
Who's this bum? Our hero, the bum.
Yeah.
And he goes into a food court, and some lady is just talking crap about him.
Mad
And
shit. Like, he disgusts me. He's
Yeah.
disgusting.
Cameron Vale sees this and freaks out.
You can pretty much understand that he's a scanner right away.
So scanners, because we're calling this guy a scanner. A scanner in this movie are telekinesis, psychic users that can do all kinds of stuff with their minds. He gives the old lady seizures. She flips out.
Yeah.
I think you were really entertained by just how hardworking this
Yeah,
actress was.
Yeah, I was surprised she didn't lose her teeth. It was crazy. it was a good time.
2 guys in trench coats just standing at the Taco Bell.
Yep.
Happened to be there. Either it was just a coincidence, or guys like that are everywhere, or they were tracking Cameron Vale somehow.
These lackeys shoot Cameron Vale, and they bring him to this doctor, and we find is Dr. Ruth.
Dr.
And-
Ruth. Patrick McGoohan.
Yeah.
McGoohan?
McGowan.
McGowan?
McGowan.
McGoohan. Hey, don't touch my goo hand.
This is my goo hand. This is my dad.
Don't shake my goo hand. He also played the king in Braveheart.
Oh, he did. I didn't know that.
A most excellent idea, sire.
Is it?
He's very interested in Vale. Apparently, he has more powers than others in his assumption. So he brings like this team of people, just a bunch of folks that are dead silent. They walk up, they sit in their chairs. For some reason, some of them sit in the back, even though like this is supposed to be ground baking.
They don't want to be called on.
Yep.
So it must have been a presentation for
Yeah.
these people to say, hey, I got this ephemeral, and it will calm these guys right down.
Yep.
I guess,
Yeah.
or it was like the worst tickets to anything you could have bought.
Yeah.
Because the guy, he just passed out and they were
worst.
just sitting there.
This circus sucks.
And the next scene, they go to, it looks almost like a presentation room or sort of like a,
Like a university hall.
it's kind of like a lecture hall
Yeah.
almost. There's a gentleman sitting at the front of the table. If you spent any time on the internet, you've probably seen him in some kind of animated GIF
Yeah.
with his head exploding. So most people will know where this scene is going. He's a scanner, and he's there to present his powers, I guess, to the public. I guess
Yeah, he
they're
wants to demonstrate it.
demonstrating.
Yeah.
So here's another, it's kind of weird. There's like the scene with Cameron Vale demonstrating to people, and then there's this scene in the lecture hall demonstrating to, they might be like corporate, customers maybe, or some kind of buyer.
Yeah, it must be. The Veil one was more against his will, and maybe they were trying to
Right.
show the calming process, and this was actually to show the power of a scanner.
The institutionalized version of it, here's what he could become if the corporation is allowed to kind of manipulate them and weaponize them
Yeah.
even. So he is at the front of the lecture hall and he asks for volunteers, kind of like a hypnotist or magician.
Yeah.
And someone volunteers from the back, and it's Michael Ironside.
Yeah. Who looks eerily like Jack Torrance.
He does. He does. He's way cheaper to hire.
Yep.
He was paid $5,000 for this role, right?
Holy cow. I didn't know
You
that.
didn't see his pay?
No.
I read an interview with him, and he said that he was paid, I believe, $5,000 to do the flashback scene
Oh, yeah.
where he's in the interrogation room with the bandage on his head.
I thought he was going to piss in it. The way he kind of leaned over it.
After his performance there, they decided to expand his role, and
Yeah.
he said okay, but he had already signed on for that much money.
Wow.
And
They didn't renegotiate at all. That's
No.
crazy.
he doesn't get royalties or anything from it, but he got notoriety.
He was the best part of that movie.
Yes.
At least he's got that Starship Trooper money.
Oh yeah, Rico,
Rico.
you know what to do. So Jack Torrance comes up front. He looks more like Jack Torrance in this scene than any other part
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
movie.
Yeah.
And sits there. Oh, okay. Oh, what are you going to show me? And the exploding head guy just says, focus on one thing, and apparently he's going to read his mind.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Ironside has a different opinion of what's going to happen, and makes some great faces. I'll just say.
He's rearing his lips like a horse.
Right there, you knew that Michael Ironside was like. That's when I became really interested in this movie, because the acting of Cameron Vale, up to that point, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But Michael Ironside, right there, saved it for me, and
Yeah.
I was in. I was all in. And the guy's head explodes.
Yeah. It was the most shocking head explosion I've ever seen, and it's an
Yes.
81 movie, so that's a lot,
Yes.
saying a lot. The special effects artist who made that shot, he filled a prosthetic head with dog food, leftover cheeseburgers,
Yeah.
and blood.
Gelatin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then shot it behind the head with a fucking 12 gauge shotgun and just blew it to smithereens. Yes. Yes. They had one shot and it worked perfect. It worked pretty well.
Boy, did it work well.
I was very shocked the first time I've seen that. Obviously, we've seen it in GIFs and stuff, but to actually see it in the process of the film was pretty
Yes.
cool. So the head explodes.
Yeah.
They try to chase down Ironside,
Yes.
who just gets out and runs. They end up tracking him down. They have the two security officers and a doctor who get him down to the ground, and the doctor is going to give him a shot of the ephemeral.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out Ironside is pretty quick-witted, so he just scans the doctor, and the doctor shoots his own hand up, and Ironside
Right.
has full capabilities and no one knows.
Right. And they have him in a cop car
Yep.
after that,
Yeah.
and he just starts taking control of a car in front of them,
Yep.
and the car that he's in, and just wipes everybody out.
Whoa,
Jesus.
shit.
Did you see him jump to
Yeah.
try to dodge the bullet?
Yeah.
It's like, I'll jump straight up over the bullet.
And if you watch closely, you'll see that he drives a car into a wall and it explodes into fucking smithereens.
Wow.
It was ridiculous.
I didn't see that. Was it in the background?
Yeah, you have to pause it, zoom in. It's right there. But it takes a little effort, but you'll see it.
So Cameron Vale gets sort of brainwashed by Dr. Ruth,
Yeah.
bringing him in saying, hey, we know you have these powers. I'm going to teach you to control them. Kind of as a secret agent, kind of like a spy almost. And he sends them out to make contact with other scanners who are kind of in an underground. And he shows them a dossier of one scanner that you should go search for. And he opens it. And it's the crazy drunk janitor from prom night.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Unbelievable.
This man's name is Benjamin Kiss. And his photographs were
Looks like the creepy drunk janitor
Yeah, what the
from
fuck?
prom night.
Where's our ski mask?
The same thing.
I mean, if you're a constant viewer of this show, you'll know that our previous episode was.
If
the
you've
prom
seen
night.
all two
Yeah,
of
if
our
you've seen all
episodes,
two, yeah.
you'll know.
Yep.
So the crazy drunk janitor
Yeah.
is now an artist.
Vale tries to at least just interrogate a little bit, not have to use his powers to get any information from him, but he's completely lock-stocked. He won't give up any info.
I need some help. You're the only one that could give it to me.
Is that right? Me?
Wow, the two worst actors have met in the same room. And as soon as they're like trying to get like a dialogue going, fucking 4 assassins come in with shotguns.
Blast everything.
Yeah.
Well, they shoot him like 20 times and
Yeah.
then they finally get him.
Yeah, and then they finally get him.
They're using shotguns from 100 feet away.
And yeah, it was like a Spaz 12 with buckshot or something because it was just all over. But Vale, his powers are obviously increasing because he throws a couple of them with his powers.
Yep.
He is able to run over to Pierce. He was able to scan him in his dying breath or in his dying thoughts. The whole scene was through thought, but for some reason, Pierce's voice was like gurgly, like he was drowning in his own blood. I was like, why is his brain drowning? Like, why is it?
It could be.
Yeah.
Maybe he was drunk
Yeah.
and his brain.
It was just all the liquor up in
Yeah,
his
it's
up
liquor.
in his brains.
There's zombies, robots.
While we were watching it, I had no fucking clue what he said at all. I had to research what he said, and he was just giving the name of Kim Obrist.
Lucky Cameron Vale can understand him.
Yep.
Cameron Vale makes his way to the secret society of scanners. It's just this nondescript house in the middle of Montreal, I
Yeah.
guess, or Toronto.
Yep.
And apparently he gets in with the group because the 2 assassins from the crazy drunk janitor's barn show up.
Yeah.
And they just blast everybody.
Yeah. They just
Or
go to town.
They go to town, they blast a couple people before they're stopped
Yeah.
by the scanners.
And the scanners are like, what the fuck? We're chilling around this Spencer's Space Light and just having a good time. And now these shotgun assholes are coming
Yes. Bunch of psychics sitting around a table. Not one of them knew that these guys were coming up the stairs.
in. Do you see what they had in the middle, too? That's a light from Spencer's Gifts.
No, it's not. It's a thing you buy for a room to have a telekinetic party.
Telekinetic circle jerk. Yeah, so, and then from there, Kim uses her abilities to
Right.
throw them into a wall, and they burst into flames.
Yes.
From the feet up. It was awesome. The scanners escape, or the ones that are remaining escape, and they run to a school bus, but it's just a van painted yellow with the word school bus on front.
School bus.
School bus.
It's the perfect disguise. They are technically special ed.
That is true. Vale scans one of the assassins in his delusion after getting out of the van, and was able to get a vial from him. I guess like manipulate him to get a vial of the ephemeral. That directs them to their next scene, which is basically Revik's stronghold. He disguises himself as a scientist. and he goes and hacks a computer.
Yeah, so he's in the lab or the server room, I guess, but it's some late 70s era terminals and mainframe computers.
Yeah.
So he just is like typing in plain language, which is light years ahead of what we have now.
Yeah.
It's like he was typing to Siri.
But it was black and green like a DOS screen. It was
Yes.
crazy. But he was just like, what's happening? And it just gave him this is the right program, and and it reveals that Revik is in charge of all the ephemeral.
What's going on here? Revik's in charge of the ephemeral.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, computer. From there, they go back to where Dr. Ruth resides. Vale tells Ruth that I got all the information I could from the computer. He said, well, you can scan it. So if it has a nervous system, you can scan it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he is a computer scanner.
Yeah.
After all, we've come all the way
full
around.
circle.
Yeah, he finds a payphone and dials into the computer with his brain. I thought he should have been making the modem noises at least to simulate the handshake that should have been going on. But no, he just calls the computer somehow and just... With telepathy, he interfaces with the computer and hacks it, I guess, somehow.
And blows the fucking computer up.
That's right.
Kills someone. That's crazy. Well, you could tell a little bit later that there was a little excess budget because on the return of the power line to the payphone, which payphone, power line, I don't get, but there was an explosion in the power line that dropped the line and blew up a fucking gas station.
Yes.
It was nothing to do with the plot whatsoever.
Right.
There wasn't anyone in the gas station that we needed to know of.
They had to drop their preferred lead actor
Yeah.
to afford the gas station explosion.
That is true.
But it was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. It was a good explosion.
The fire comes back
Yeah.
and blows up a gas station.
Yeah, it's crazy. What Vale does find on his hack of the computer is the list of doctors that are prescribing the ephemeral.
Right.
So they go to the nearest doctor, and Vale goes to get assessed for the injuries that he got from scanning the computer and the explosions.
Please, I'll be with you in a few moments.
I have to talk to you right now, Doctor.
Would you please get out of here?
While he's getting checked out, Kim is sitting in the office, and she looks at a pregnant woman's stomach, and the pregnant woman's fetus scans her.
Starts scanning.
Yeah, and it attracts Revik, and Revik takes her and Vale to his lab.
Right. And this is the big showdown
Yeah.
between Cameron Vale and Revik. The big reveal here is that they're brothers.
Yeah,
And Dr. Ruth is their
is
dad.
their father. Yeah,
Dr. Ruth apparently lets one of his sons just languish in poverty and eat out of a dumpster all the time. And
while the other one's super rich and running a million-man army
yes.
of new babies that are going to be born as scanners.
And they have a scanner battle.
Yeah.
They get in a psycho battle.
It was,
he's
to say the least.
I'm gonna suck your brain dry.
Yeah, and then credit to the makeup artist. It was probably some of the best stuff I've seen in that era.
Dick Smith,
Dick Smith.
yes, legendary makeup artist who worked on lots of stuff. Godfather and The Exorcist.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, yes.
Man, that must be why it's so good then.
From what I read online, the veins popping out.
It was all latex, right?
It was latex, and it was like fluid bladders that they would pump up from off scene, and it would fill up. But I was blown away by that. I
was
didn't even
unbelievable.
know how they did that.
It was flush before, and it looked just like skin. You could barely
Yeah.
tell anything was there, and then it just started to fill. And I mean, obviously, there's some graphics now that could look even better, but at the time, it was unbelievable.
I couldn't tell how they did it.
Yeah.
And you don't see stuff like that, and just watching things from that era and what they could do with practical effects is amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I was blown away too, because another point where he used latex and blood and stuff is Vale starts to pull at his skin, and he's like pulling deep
Yes.
cuts into his skin, like ripping full flesh pieces
Oh.
off.
People's eyes start to turn white.
Yeah.
Cameron Vale's eyes
Explode the fuck out of his head.
explode out of his head.
Whoa, fuck.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was another shotgun blast. It seemed like right out of the fucking eyeballs only.
I could not believe that.
The battle is ended. Vale's eyes have exploded out of his head.
Yes.
The last scene we see is Ironside with completely white eyes, and
Yes.
Vale is burning. Cut to Kim Obrist walking in, finding Cameron Vale's body burned to a fucking
Yeah, it's
crisp.
just-
just like a
went
mummified corpse.
It went nuclear and like that guy's
And-
toast.
Your assumption is it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's some type of tie-in because you have to figure out what happened with Ironside, but you just assume that the bad guys won. She finds Ironside huddled up in the corner,
Yeah.
and she pulls him to the side, pulls him around to take a look, and you notice that he has no drill hole in his head, and his eyes are the color of Cameron Vale's.
Right.
And he just looks up and says, "It's done, Kim. We did it." And then end scene. It was amazing ending because it took you for a little bit of a ride, and it was probably the best ending you could ask for, even if there was a time crunch. I mean, it was well executed to the point where you wouldn't realize if there was anything like that. So it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have known that they cut corners anywhere.
Yeah,
it
no.
felt like a fully realized movie that went start to finish with a typical process. It felt like he had lots of time to ponder the story, and especially subtle hints and hooks and storytelling. It was great.
Yeah.
I bet he lost about 10 years of his life doing this movie.
yeah, probably. Especially when it came to the special effects, he wanted very real.
Yes.
And those probably took a lot of his time that he probably needed for other scenes, but he had to do with what he could.
But you know what? It exists today in a way that millions of people every year are discovering the scanner's head explosion. And they won't know what it's from. They'll see a bald dude with a mustache and glasses, his head exploding. They'll be like, what is that?
Yep.
And it looks so good that they'll probably Google it and say, head explosion GIF. If you type in head explosion GIF,
It's definitely top 3.
it's top 3 if you have safe search on.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
It was like Cronenberg had a lot of set pieces. His big scenes were spaced out, I think, pretty evenly through the movie. There was, in the beginning, the lady having a seizure.
Yeah.
That's pretty traumatic to watch. That's an old lady.
Yeah.
And why did Cronenberg make her have seizures all over a dirty old mall food court floor?
With used food all just
all
thrown
over.
all
It
over.
was filthy.
Yeah.
And then there's the head explosion, and then the car exploding in the
Yeah.
background that you get to look close to notice. And then
And the Yoga Master heart attack.
the Yoga Master heart attack, and then the crazy drunk janitor,
Yeah.
like from 100 yards away, getting
Blasted with a shotgun.
death by 1,000 shotgun pellets, and then the
circle
scanner
of
seance.
circle of scanners.
Those guys getting blown away, and then the 2 assassins getting lit on fire.
Yeah.
There's lots of great moments in this movie,
Yeah.
and that's what I loved. So what was your favorite part of this movie?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick a favorite, it would, I mean, you have to put aside the head explosion because that's that's the quintessential plug in this movie. But I don't know. I found it not only comical, but cool because it was a real effect, but the phone line going down and blowing up the gas station for no fucking reason. I loved it. I don't know why, but I just loved it. I couldn't get over how non-needed it was and how expensive it probably was to make it happen.
It was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Blew up a gas station with a poorly planned hack.
With a phone line with no power, just, direct channel. So
Yeah, phone line has minimal voltage, and it
Yeah.
could probably ignite gasoline fumes.
if you held it like that, this thumb's distance away, it could
That's
probably-
why they have the warning about cell phones
Yeah.
at fuel pumps, is because somebody saw that movie and they're like, oh, that could happen.
Fucking scanners, bro.
No scanners or cell phones near fuel pumps, but you didn't know that they meant the telepathic scanners.
Serious note, if you were looking for a serious point in the movie that I really enjoyed, it was the Ironside interrogation when it was just him in black and white. It was just so real, and
It was.
it was the only time where the acting really convinced me that he was a psychopath. I had known Ironside from a couple flicks, but this really just had me bought in.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the crazy drunk janitor.
Yes. I didn't know if you were going to say that or not. I figured just because of how...
I'm becoming a fan of him.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the crazy drunk janitor in this movie because we really, really didn't plan that. And he appeared out of nowhere.
I don't know how many commenters are going to believe that we didn't plan that, but it's definitely was not a plan of ours.
A coincidence, something that the universe spun together for us was to watch 2 crazy drunk janitor movies in a row. Mm-hmm. And he was even better in this movie because he had more dialogue.
Yeah.
And he acted a little bit more. Some guy we've never seen in a movie before in our lives, except we had in Jason X.
Yeah.
Who cares? Who gives a shit?
It's because David Cronenberg uses him in almost every one of his movies.
Is he in The Fly? We have to see that then.
I don't know if he's in The Fly. He's in a couple other Cronenberg movies, though. We'll have to check them out at some point and call out the crazy drunk janitor.
One of the things I wanted to bring up that we didn't get to was the intro, and we did make reference to Ironside looking pretty much exactly like Jack Torrance in the beginning.
Yep.
He kind of had his own fleshing out later on, but in the beginning he looked pretty close. If he just would have had the burlap sack looking suit on like Jack Torrance did. But the other part that had a strong reference to The Shining, not only, you're scanning, you're shining, but the intro is basically the Shining theme, but just set in a different tune.
Yeah, it's a different key.
Yeah, different key.
It was very similar.
Most of the reviews were positive. It was one of those movies that was well received later on in its path or in its journey, but in the beginning it was critically taken for a mystery, which I don't see very much, but I guess there is some type of mystery to it, but what the reviews definitely cited was that there wasn't enough character development, which I agree with some, but you can't really have an action horror type of movie without having disposable characters. It's just not possible.
Yes, I have something. Do I have to close my eyes?
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, that was Scanners.
Let's do an outro to this camera.
Yep.
I don't know what to do, though. What do we do?
I think that's a good ending. I think that's it.
All right. We'll see you next time. What's a hint for the next movie? Give them a hint.
What is our next movie?
I don't know.